Hey YouTube, it's Reading Ready here with ambitions of being the next Old Spice guy. Not the one that yells all the time, but the one that's kind of smoother and rides on the horse all the time. Yeah, that one. So today I'll be covering Our Entitled Parents. The first story comes from user Grumpy Luppy. So at Disney World we have quite a few Make-A-Wish families. If you're not familiar with Make-A-Wish, it's an organization that grants wishes to very sick children. And it breaks my heart every time they come to visit characters. Everyone in the room usually gets pretty emotional. Make-A-Wish families usually get special treatment in the parks, as they should. These kids usually cannot wait in long lines, so if you have a Make-A-Wish pass, you get to send the family through the Fast Pass line. And for characters, it can get a bit tricky. We have some characters that meet outside, and therefore they don't have a Fast Pass line. There's a queue, and you can see how many people are in front of you since there aren't any twisty queue lines that go around the building. In this case, Make-A-Wish families just come up to the character attendant, the person that takes care of the character, aka me, and shows them their special pass. You go over to the family in the regular line and inform them that the Make-A-Wish family is going to cut in front of them, and after they're done with the next family, they will get their turn. So usually people are hot and sweaty and tired, but they get it. And they usually give me a wave with a quick, "Oh, it's okay, no problem." Sometimes their kids get a little bit frustrated because they don't understand the concept of the Make-A-Wish get the cut to the front. But the parents explain that they're doing good by letting really sick kids go first. They'll be fine, just to wait another minute. Occasionally people get upset because they don't know what Make-A-Wish means, but it's pretty obvious that the child is sick and people can usually put two and two together with context clues. And we can always explain if they don't get it. But for the most part, American families have heard of Make-A-Wish and they know what that means. However, people can still get really mad. I had a friend who was character attending with the Princess Aurora, who saw a Make-A-Wish family and let the next family in line know what was going on, and was shocked to hear the entitled dad's response. Here we go. "Sorry sir, this Make-A-Wish family is going to go first. Thank you for your patience." "Are you kidding me? I've been waiting forever. This is ridiculous." "Sorry sir." My friend shot him a look and turned away to focus on the Make-A-Wish family, and the dad starts pouting like a child. "Wow, I wish my kid had disease so I could cut all the lines," he muttered under his breath, probably louder than he intended to. Literally everyone froze.
You can say that? You can say those words in that order and you don't explode? Like the people police don't come down from the sky like, "Oh, I'm sorry, this person's a demon. I didn't even know. I don't know how we got out."
Princess Aurora, my friend who was working, the family behind the entitled dad, and the Make-A-Wish family all turned to stare at the dad. Aurora was pissed off and said something to the effect of, "Well, that isn't a very princely thing to say," before turning her attention to the Make-A-Wish little girl. Her mom looked like she was going to cry. My friend barely kept his composure and went right over to the dad and said, "I bet our friends over here would give anything to be in your shoes, don't you think?" The family behind the dad grumbled about him being rude and horrible, obviously. The dad, at this point, knew he put his foot in his mouth. His daughter was oblivious to the whole thing, thankfully, as she was quietly playing with her Barbie and barely even blinked when she was told that she would have to wait a bit longer to see Aurora. During the turn, Aurora was cool towards the dad, but great with the daughter. They had a long talk about how a real princess is kind, and patient, and compassionate, and the dad slunk away. I hope he learned from his behavior. So the next story we have is from not listening. So today, husband and I were feeling a little bit bored and adventurous, so we decided to make a pilgrimage to a posh coffee bar in our city. We've been meaning to go for months now, but just never got around to it. So we pull in the lot and it's packed, 10:45 on a Sunday, so we kind of expected it, to be honest with you. As I'm getting out the car, there's this mom next to me, struggling to get 3 kids out of their seats, while her husband stood in the front of the car just watching, not helping. I hop out and excuse myself and walk into the cafe with my husband, only to see a huge line. 2 more people come in after us, and then the mom and her horde of children. So then she immediately starts complaining about the line. She complains loudly to her husband at first, but when he's clearly ignoring her, she decides to just complain to thin air. "Why is this line always so long? God, why don't they have more staff? Why does every person have to come here at the same time? Ugh." She eventually asked the couple in front if she could go ahead because her kids were really hungry. Insert guilting sad face here. The saints begrudgingly say sure, so now they're directly behind her husband and I. "Excuse me, miss. May we have the spot before you in line? My children have been waiting a long time and are very hungry." with the nicest voice I could find, I said, "I'm sorry, ma'am. We've been waiting a while too and we're also hungry. The line is moving faster now at least." I gave her a smile even though she was glaring at me. I turned back around to hear her mutter, "Wow, what a..." Can you believe some people? How rude. It took all my effort not to react right there. And my husband, he's a conflict avoider. However, I am not. But I respect his wishes enough to not cause a scene in public when I'm with him. Eventually, she starts telling her husband how they're always out of the Mediterranean spinach breakfast sandwich, and she better get it this time, or she's going to be pissed. This is when I concoct a seriously evil plan. Check my watch. It's 10:55. So a minute or two later, it's our turn. Husband orders his soy chai, and I slowly order my vanilla nitro cold brew with cream. No, not with cream. Sorry, with soy. And an extra pump of vanilla. The barista brings us up as I check my watch. It's 10:58. And now, I ask to add a Mediterranean spinach breakfast sandwich to the order. She says, "Sure, no problem," and gives us the total. I'm digging in my purse for my wallet. Well, darn, I just can't seem to find it. More digging. Oh, there it is finally. Hand her the card, wait for the receipt, and slowly sign. Pack the purse back up, and say thank you and walk away. And then my husband says, "You're hungry? We ate breakfast like an hour ago." To which I respond, "No, I'm not hungry, I just have to do this." Do what? I nod to the mom over there, and my husband looks over. She orders some coffee and some juice things for the kids, but doesn't ask if her husband wants anything. And that's when it happened. "And one Mediterranean spinach breakfast sandwich?" To which the barista responded, "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. We stopped carrying breakfast at 11. We have all our lunch options today, though, if you want those." The mom looks over at her watch and yells, "What? Are you kidding me? It's 11:02. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Company policy is to just stop breakfast at 11. Is there anything else I can get you?" "Get me your manager. This is ridiculous. You just sold one a moment ago. This is absurd." So the manager comes over, explains the situation, apologizes, but refused to give that woman a sandwich. So bless her heart. So then the mom retracts the entire order and stomps out, red-faced, yelling towards her car.
"Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin."
This is serious.
I know. This really is the world's smallest violin. See?
My husband was trying to hold back all his laughter throughout this entire thing. So our order came up, we grabbed it, and we walked back to the car. I'm unwrapping my sandwich and take out a bite of it, exactly as I'm trying to scoot around her, trying to strap her kids in again and say, "Oh, excuse me, ma'am. I'm just gonna sneak by you real quick." And then my nicest Midwest accent. At this point, she's glaring at me. And it's the worst death stare I've ever gotten. I get in the car and unwind the windows ever so slightly, passing it to the husband and back while she's screaming, struggling with her kids, getting no help from the dad. And as soon as she pulled away, we just burst into laughter. Today was a good day. And our next story comes from user Dino123. So I'm a 38-year-old man from the UK, a musician in a wedding band, and as such you'd expect the odd bridezilla now and again. But this particular occasion managed to be a lovely crossover between entitled parents and entitled bride. So hold on. So basically, I don't know what weddings are like in other parts of the world, but here in the UK at about 8 p.m., everybody makes their way to the main hall and takes a seat for the bride and groom to enter afterwards and begin the first dance. I had a few email conversations back and forth with the bride before the night, and so she seemed perfectly amicable. So I spoke with her in person about 7:30 after we, the band, were all set up and good to go. She seemed a bit stuck up, but normally I just put it down on them being a little bit nervous, or too busy in some cases, or too drunk to even really care. Well, stuck up how, you may ask? Well, I introduced myself, extended my hand to hers and to shake, and she basically ignored it and went back to talking to one of her bridesmaids. Pretty rude. I waited for a gap in the conversation and said, "Hi, bride. Just to let you know that it's good for us to go for the first dance at 8 o'clock. Looking forward to it." So then the bride turned around to me and said, "Can you not see I'm busy? Just go away and do your job. That's what I've paid you for." Well, alright. She's kind of a... That's fine. I've dealt with horrible brides before. I couldn't spy the groom anywhere, so I did exactly what she said and buggered off for a little while. So then 8 p.m. rolls around, and we're on the stage waiting for everyone to pile into the room. And about 10 minutes later, we get a thumbs up from the wedding co-coordinator to announce them into the room. I then announced them in. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the dance floor for their first dance as husband and wife, Mr. and Mrs. blah blah blah. Everyone's clapping, they walk in, but the bride looks fuming. She marches right up to me and says, "I wanted you to announce this as the blah blahs." So I smiled, apologized, and tried not to let it bother me, saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, give them a big round of applause as they take the dance floor as the blah blahs." "Yeah, that's better." "Sake," says the bride as she stomps onto the dance floor. So by now you get a decent idea as to what kind of person I'm dealing with here. I said very rude, a control freak, but I've met brides before who are control freaks. But 99% of them are still lovely. And doesn't suffer fools apparently. So we get stuck into the first dance. Alright, Perfect by Ed Sheeran. So original. There are videographers, photographers, and about 7 or 80 guests there. So as you can imagine, for most wedding bands, the first dance is the main part of the night that you simply have to get right. It's pretty stressful, but as long as you're confident and know the song, you're usually golden. That is, unless the bride's snot-nosed infant decides to enter your life. The kid appears out of absolutely nowhere and starts running around the bride and groom. He's just above knee height, so I don't know, maybe 3 years old? And for some reason, he's carrying some sort of stick with a ball on the end of it, kind of like a wizard's wand. They're laughing, everyone thinks it's funny and cute, haha great. Then, the kid decides it would be a great idea to abandon them both while they're performing the most important song of the evening. He runs up to the drum kit and absolutely starts smashing the cymbals while my drummer is trying to play a song. Now cymbals and most musical equipment are very expensive and they don't appreciate being hammered by things that aren't drumsticks. This is literally property damage, but what the hell, it's nothing we haven't dealt with before. Unfortunately. And I don't know why, but for some reason people assume that bands are totally cool with having their equipment played and damaged despite the fact that it's our primary source of income. Anyways, I'm just singing away and trying to ignore it, assuming that someone, anyone, will come and collect the kid. An auntie, uncle, grandparent. Nope. That would be the logical thing to do. So no. I'm trying to sing this song, and just at the second chorus, all you can hear is ting 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 smash smash smash. My drummer stops playing for a couple of bars to politely gesture the entitled kid. The kid stops for a few seconds, and then so I think it's, okay, we're good now. Then we're almost at the end of the song, and the kid is running back and forth from my side of the stage area to the other. There are cables all over the area, and the speaker stands with enough force could be knocked over if tripped into. Not only that, but the drum kit itself. So the bride seems oblivious to the fact that her son could be about to get his ear sliced off by a cymbal. Yes, they're surprisingly sharp edge. Who would have known? You see where I'm going. We made it, the bride doesn't applaud, but the groom seems happy enough though. The kid goes away for a while and I'm amazed that nobody in the room thought it would be a good idea to just hold him until at least the dance was over. And so we kick off the night. Halfway through literally the second song of the evening, I have to stop the song halfway through because the kid keeps throwing a balloon, and it keeps going either straight to my face or into my stage area, i.e. the pedals, more cables, mic stands, cymbals, not just space, basically dangerous stuff for a kid. So then I just say to the kid, try and keep the balloon away from me where we're playing, please buddy? And then I smile at him. The kid looks confused for a second and then takes the balloon and goes away. We keep playing. The kid looks confused for a second, but then just takes his balloon and goes away. So then we keep playing. Boom, 2 minutes later the bride walks up and stops the next song, demanding to speak to me, holding her kid who is now crying. Nice. Did you tell my son he can't play? No, what? No. I just asked that he tries to stay away from the stage area. As you can see, it's quite dangerous. She cut me off. So he can play where he wants. You've made him cry. Ma'am, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to upset him. I was just saying we don't want him to get hurt. The drum kit can be quite dangerous and he could trip over some. He's perfectly capable of looking after himself, you know. This is my wedding. You're right. We just don't want him to end up being injured. So would you mind just keeping him away from us while we're playing? The bride says nothing, looking like I've just taken it on our carpet and walks away with the kid, still crying, holding onto his balloon. What a prick. Alright, so I feel at this point I've done enough to warn her about the dangers of letting the kid near all of our equipment. And I realize I'm really dragging this out now, so here's the kicker. About 2 hours later, the kid, who's still been hovering around the stage knowing me, and I've been forced to guide him away from several dangerous positions, is running all around the dance floor. The dance floor really isn't far from the band, something I hate about that particular venue. And the stage area is tiny compared to the dance floor. And the kid is running like crazy, which is kind of expected as a kid. He slips and he puts a hand out. And then he slices his finger on a cymbal. Talk about karma. Now there's blood on the dance floor, which I didn't notice until my guitar player stopped playing with a horrified expression. The kid is screaming, and the bride is nowhere to be seen. I stop the song, take my bass off, and have a look. The kid's finger is like hanging off. At the time, you could literally see the bone. So a guest finally comes up, and I'm freaking out, telling my drummer to phone an ambulance. I know it sounds absolutely stupid now. I was genuinely panicking, thinking, oh my god, this kid is gonna die or something. I can laugh about it now, but at the time, I was absolutely freaking out. So then the bride comes in, announces her presence with an ear-splitting shriek, picks up the kid, and instead of carrying him elsewhere, stands there and screams at me. This is your fault. Look what you've done. Look what you've done to my boy. The hotel doctor comes down, and then the ambulance comes to take the kid to the hospital shortly after. Bride and the groom leave with the kid, and needless to say, we packed up all our stuff. Drummer had to then disinfect the cymbal later, and then we left. We didn't get paid, obviously, and the bride left us a review that was genuinely full of so many expletives and untruths that I could barely read it. She tried to imply that I was being horrible and bullying her kid all night, as if that would lead to him slicing his finger open. So, the moral of the story is, if you're going to bring kids to a wedding, make sure you can either A, control them, or B, get someone else to look after them, or C, don't act like your kid is a freaking superhero who cannot do any wrong and can withstand the sharp edges of a cymbal. Hey YouTube, thanks for listening. That was the video. Be sure to list any additional subreddits you'd like me to cover in future videos. And also, remember to like and subscribe for more content. Have a good one.